At Whanganui District Council, we realised that a traditional aged-based model for renewing underground assets wasn't necessarily the best way to spend our ratepayers' hard-earned money. Traditional models typically rely on the age and remaining useful life of assets to inform our expenditure plans. This may sound good in theory, but it creates asset renewals bubbles which can only be absorbed if we live in an ideal world with unlimited cash resources. For many local authorities like Whanganui, the reality is the available funding is much more limited, which inevitably leaves many assets unfunded. The traditional model appeared to be a very risky approach, as many of our unfunded assets are much more critical to delivering a sustainable service. Some of these assets remain untouched for decades and are at risk of failure due to a lack of information on their true condition and performance. We decided to change the way we do things, but how best to do that? Our challenge was that budgets were not likely to increase significantly, so the only way to address risk was to make sure that the money we do have is spent in the best possible manner. So how do we do this? By addressing Council's highest risk in descending order. Our approach blends elements from our asset registers with carefully planned flow monitoring and closed-circuit television surveys of underground assets. This allowed us to develop a risk-based model which shows where the most critical assets are at risk. These assets are then prioritised for our funding and our long-term plan. Only then is the focus changed to assets of a lower criticality. Our approach yielded some unexpected results. A very good example is a relatively critical wastewater pipeline in Nixon Street, which went unnoticed, even though it was very close to actual failure. Based on the traditional model, this pipe was only due for funding in another decade or so. Fortunately, we can now reprioritise planned expenditure and renew the pipe to eliminate the serious risk to the continuity of our wastewater service. In general, our approach has had the interesting result of significantly reducing Council's risk profile, even though the budgeted expenditure remains exactly the same. It ensures that over many years of investment, risk is balanced with available resources, allowing for much more informed long-term decision-making. We believe our approach has relevance to all local authorities in New Zealand and could help smooth the curve of the much-predicted asset renewals bubble that has become a focus for both local and central government in recent years.